Welcome, everybody, to the Board of Trustees meeting, Ames Community College, December 15th already, 2021. Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I have a motion to approve the consent or the agenda. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of the November 10th, 2021 board meeting?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Under public comment, I'm told that we have no one asking to speak publicly to the board. Is that correct, Beck? Okay, thank you for confirming that. Okay, presentation from guests and representatives to the board. Kelly Jackson.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Chair Oxinger, Dr. Ornstein. It's always a pleasure to bring forward our students who have attended Ames and gone on to super success. And of course, we always bring super success because that's all Ames produces. So it's really fun to share out our stories. Today, we have Eric. Eric has lived in Greeley for the past 27 years. Over the past 25 years, he and his wife, Tiffany, have provided a host home for two gentlemen with developmental and behavioral challenges. Eric decided to go back to school 5 years ago and seek a nursing degree. He graduated in May of this year and now works at the medical unit at the Medical Center of the Rockies. And he said, as I was chatting with him a little bit while we were waiting, he said it's an amazing place to work and an amazing job. He really enjoys what he does. And as we hear from all of those in the nursing contingent workforce, it's a hard job. And even before you hear what he has to say, he deserves a round of applause working through this COVID timeframe and being there for our communities. Today I present Eric Kent and his amazing story.
Well, that was nice. I wasn't expecting the amazing story part. I appreciate the opportunity to come share with you my experience at Ames, though. Somewhere in there, can you hear me okay? Okay, sometime in early summer of 2017, my wife and I got notice that one of the individuals that we've been taking care of for the past 20 years might be losing all of his funding. So not only was this going to be devastating for him, but it was also going to it put me and my wife in a position to have to come up with a plan B on how we were going to continue to pay the bills and live our life. So based on looking at our life circumstances and the experiences that we'd both gained over the previous 20 years, we decided that I would attempt to get into the nursing program. I knew some nurses and I knew that Ames had a good nursing program. So we thought I would come to school, back to school, and try to get into the nursing program. After 2 years of prerequisites, and 2 years of a wonderful dual enrollment program with the University of Northern Colorado, I graduated with an associate degree of nursing in May of this year. In mid-July, I took the National Council Licensure Examination, that's also known as the NCLEX exam. And about that same time, I applied for a couple of positions for the UC Health New Graduate Program. I applied to both UC Health Greeley and the Medical Center of the Rockies near the end of July. Near the end of July, I was offered for a position in the new graduate program at the Medical Surgical Unit at Medical Center of the Rockies. The new graduate program offers opportunities to between 70 and 75 recent graduates to participate in a 2-year program that begins with the student being able to participate closely with a nurse for 3 months before actually gaining a full patient load and working on the floor. Having 3 months to mentor with a skilled nurse is very valuable because there are a lot of complex computer networks to have to learn admission and discharge procedures, as well as further complex computer systems to learn and hospital-specific guidelines for procedures. So there's a lot to learn before you get out on the floor. My 3-month Preceptee program ended in mid-October. And since then, I've been acting on my own license as a registered nurse with a full patient load. Over the course of the next 2 years, the new nursing graduate program offers all of us who are participating the opportunity to participate in 15 to 20 large group half-day educational seminars that focus on professional growth, as well as preparing and presenting an evidence-based research paper about an area of concern and value on the floors that we will all be working on. From my understanding, the hospital spends between $40,000 and $50,000 on each new graduate for continuing education. It's a challenging but a rewarding program to be a part of, and I wouldn't be a part of it, I don't believe, if I hadn't gotten quality education that I did here at Ames. The past couple of months have been filled with constant learning, as you would imagine, and challenges that are both personal and professional. The work is hard, but I can honestly say that the people I work with at MCR on my floor are some of the most talented, strong, supportive, and intelligent people I've ever worked with, and I couldn't dream of a better place to work with. Nursing is going to be hard no matter where you go, so it's great to be with people who are so supportive and such a strong team. Being a nurse is more challenging than I expected. There's more moving parts than I expected. And I realize that it's as much of an art as, I'm learning that it's as much of an art as it is a science. But I feel that by going to Ames, I went to a particularly good boot camp for this. And from my earliest algebra classes to my more specific statistics for nursing classes through my anatomy and physiology, and then the full 2-year program in the nursing department, I feel that I was provided a structured and well-designed program that helped lay the foundation for the challenges that nursing would present that I didn't realize would even be presented to me. Even through the pandemic, Ames was able to provide me and my cohort with some outstanding clinical experiences. Myself alone, I was able to have clinical experience before stepping out, before getting a job as a nurse at long-term skilled nursing facilities, NCMC. I worked at UC Health Greeley. I worked at MCR. I was a school nurse at an elementary school. I worked as a nurse at the county jail. I worked at Mountain Crest Behavioral Facilities in Mountain Crest Behavioral Services in Fort Collins, and as a private nurse at a home for special needs young people in Windsor. I was fortunate to have my senior practicum at the emergency department at Northern Colorado Medical Center. I participated in 3 births. I saw several people leave the hospital after multiple surgeries and extended stays of months in the hospital. And during my clinicals and education through Ames, I saw people pass away. We were never given a free ride at Ames. Every person in my nursing program felt both challenged and supported by the nursing program professors, program, and the institution as a whole. I hope this isn't taken the wrong way, but I never expected to be really proud to be an alumnus of a community college. But I loved my 4+ years at Ames Community College. It changed many preconceived ideas I had about my own education, about my own intelligence, and things and my own abilities. I've seen how the university treats all students and all members of the community, which is one of the proudest things I can say. Whoever's in charge of making sure that all members of this community feel respected and appreciated when they enter these floors, enter this university. I think they've done an outstanding job on that. I appreciate how Ames makes the community a vibrant, multicultural, and tolerant community because of the affordable cost of Ames. And with the aid of grants and scholarships, I was able to graduate debt-free. In the end, my time at Ames led me to a well-paying job with outstanding benefits. It's offered me the opportunity to secure my future retirement for me and my family, and I'm a proud graduate of Ames and the College of the nursing program here at Ames. So I appreciate the opportunity to share my experience, and thank you very much.
Eric, thank you. Thank you very much for being here and sharing your story. It's people like you that make us all proud to be here at Ames. And we're so proud of the programs that you have described, as well as all the others. I know we have an excellent nursing program, and you are certainly an example of a graduate of that, and you speak highly of it. So we appreciate you coming here, sharing your story, and we appreciate your continued being an ambassador for Ames Community College. And we wish you and your family all the best as you go forward.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A small token of our
Thank you.
appreciation for being here.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, now for reports from representatives to the board. I think first is the SGA, Levon Quinones. Here it is, outstanding.
And it's nice to be here, by the way. So, Chair Otziger, board members, Dr. Bornstein, hello and happy December. I know everyone, and this definitely includes students, is really excited about the Welcome Center and all of the possibilities it opens up for connection, and interaction within the greater Ames community. But I'd like to take a moment to talk about our new student commons and how that building, that space will impact all of Ames and our community. Sorry, I was just, you guys will see, you'll get it.
You're okay.
As someone who has spent many years and many a semester, like Eric, chipping away at a degree here at my beloved Ames, I can tell you that there's one specific department that keeps me here. The Student Activities, Inclusion, and Leadership Office, or SAIL department, is a life preserver along the rough and often mysterious sea that is the academic endeavor. Now, that isn't to say there aren't lots and lots of staff in registration and advising who keep us all on track, though we would indeed be lost without all of our fantastic administration. We're glad to see that they'll have lots of space and gorgeous northern views in a building designed for the more formal and less fun, but still very necessary business end of getting started at Ames. But the SAIL team is unique in that they don't only serve students, but the entirety of the Ames community. This happens because they put students and their needs first. When planning and considering new events and ideas, their main focus is me, the student. The student isn't ever just attending school for themselves, and the SAIL department knows this. When we come to school, especially for students of color, we often come to school with our entire families and networks of support right behind us, always in the back of our minds. Again, the SAIL department knows this. What's more, they put forth that knowledge into action. They plan events that are welcome to everyone on campus, whether they be students, faculty, or staff. Faculty and staff are the pillars that allow this institution to continue to foster excellence into all of Northern Colorado and even the rest of the country. Excluding faculty and staff from student activities would be empty and flavorless. SAIL knows this. In doing all of this, SAIL recruits and brings new students to Ames all the time. I know I've personally invited friends and family to an event, and it later convinced them that, you know what, maybe I can get a degree. SAIL and the CDI have dedicated, having dedicated student space like this on campus means so much more than I'm even able to elaborate right now. The College Center was nice, but it wasn't anything like this. It wasn't ours the way the Student Commons is. During the second week of spring semester, from January 24th to the 28th, the Student Commons will host Welcome Week. There will be food, games, and Artie will be there. This is internal, Ames only, but we're looking forward to an open house in the future. CAP and SGA are wrapping up the semester by planning our spring events and town halls so that they'll be on the calendar before class starts. We're just incredibly psyched about our move into the Student Commons. We can't wait for everyone to enjoy this space with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Levon. Appreciate the report. Next is Ames Faculty Association, Mr. Mark Moody. I believe Mark is via Zoom.
Yes, I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mark.
No problem. Good afternoon, Dr. Bornstein, Chair Oshinger, and members of the board. Today's the last day for us faculty, especially turning in our grades. It's been a great semester, great to be back on campus, and we're really looking forward to being here for the spring semester. If you look in your packets, you can see we had Good Ripples nominations, and they're pretty elongated, so I won't read them word for word, but just highlight some of what our great faculty have done here for this institute. Professor of Philosophy, Professor Granton, as you can see, had a very good nomination by a student, saying how smart he is, how much he loves his subject matter, and how he lights up the room when he has class. So definitely something for all of us faculty to take away from. And then Professor Johnson, who I know, she received a very good Ripple nomination from a student as well. She said how the student mentioned how she helps out, you know, not afraid to ask a lot of questions, going out of her way to help out the student. So again, another faculty member that helps us faculty all together. And then Professor of Music, Professor Moeller, she got from another staff member, and the staff member was mentioning how the student, you know, is able to succeed because of her, like going beyond, helping beyond just the music subject. So again, really good, and shows how we, you know, care and how we put students first here at Ames. And then Professor of Biology, Dr. Murray, was given a good review, as you can see, saying how she encourages collaborative work in the classroom, group activities, and also, you know, looking at the small things in her classroom. So again, really good review for Dr. Murray. And then finally for Professor Brown, as you can see, is somebody that always wants to improve learning techniques in the classroom. So this is something that's very important, because as faculty, we always strive to improve, you know, learn techniques, even if we've been doing it for a long time. And I'll say from our last meeting, the aquifer lab went pretty well in my physical geography class. It was very exciting. We actually made 3 different aquifers, and the students really saw how it relates to here in Weld County, especially in northern Weld County, where a lot of the aquifers are utilized. And then a lot of my major students are ones that took them home. So I know one of them said they're going to put it on their shelf when they decide they want to transfer to UNC next fall and major in geography. So that definitely meant a lot. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, great report, Mark. Thank you very, very much.
Very much. Have a good break.
You do the same. Next, the Ames Staff Association. Jen, I think you're with us. There you are.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Oxiger, Dr. B, trustee members. It's great to be with you as always. Let's see where to start. On November 19th, we held our community day at the Weld Food Bank, and we had 31 total volunteers. We had 19 employees, 4 students, 1 trustee, 1 alumni, 6 community members, and a partridge in a pear tree. Nah, you're welcome for that holiday humor. Together, we packed 455 emergency food boxes, 1,400 pounds of apples, 840 pounds of tomatoes, and we sorted 4,200 pounds of food. So,
Whoa.
So thank you again to all who participated, including Trustee Wendell, Dr. B. We're very appreciative of all the community members and employees that came out to help us. And it was so wonderful to have this event back on our calendar this year. So thank you. Today for the Ripple nomination, I'd like to highlight our resident Rays of Sunshine, the Center for Professional Development and Wellness team. Jan Cope, Rachel Walsh, and Jane Hafe, nominated by Audrey Stetler, HR Business Support Specialist. If you've been lucky enough to receive a delivery from these wonderful staff members in their sunshine costumes, you know they truly go the extra mile to make sure the health and well-being of employees stays a priority and that personal and professional development opportunities are always available. And if you haven't been graced by their presence, just give it time. I have it on good authority, those costumes stay hung up in their offices just in case. And as Audrey said in her nomination, each day they carefully plan thoughtful events to comfort, support, encourage, propel, and grow Ames employees. They are an endless source of energy, positivity, and so full of goodness that when others are around them or served by them, one cannot help being filled with joy or encouragement. We see you and we appreciate you more than you know. So a big thank you to this team and to Ames for valuing and prioritizing employee health, well-being, and development. As Audrey titled her nomination, an incredible gift to Ames, and I couldn't agree more. So on behalf of the staff, I'd like to wish you all a happy holiday break, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Jen. Any questions of Jen? No? Okay, well, happy holidays to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen. Okay, that takes us to action items. Action item A, mill levy certification for fiscal year 2022. Mr. Jensen, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Dr. Bornstein, members of the board. You have before you action item 7A. This is our annual certification of the mill levy that the college assesses. And as you can see through the data, there was a reduction in the assessed value. That's been part of our budget planning through the whole time. As I talked through budget assumptions, that was anticipated. And now that the actual certifications are in, it's meeting expectations in our fiscal planning. So we have before you a certification authorization for 6.342 mills, which is a combination of both our general operating, and then we are allowed to assess mills on any taxes that have been refunded or abated in the previous year. So those are the two components that you as a taxing authority are allowed to levy each year. So again, 6.342 mills, and it's anticipated that that would bring in approximately $63,487,000 in general property revenue for fiscal year 22. So the administrative recommendation is do pass, and I stand for questions.
Okay, any questions, Chuck? I'm seeing none. So do we have a motion to approve action item 7A?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Same sign. That motion is carried. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next, the naming of the Welcome Center Auditorium. Mr. Jensen, you're back.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Bornstein, members of the board, I have before you a very exciting board item, 7B. This is part of the policy and procedures for naming portions of buildings on the Ames campuses. And this is one where we are recommending that the auditorium in the Welcome Center be named the Carol and Roberta Miller Auditorium. There's some details there in the action item that talk about the Millers and their contributions to the community. As this process goes, Kelly and her team, which does an excellent job of making connections with donors, it is then vetted through the foundation board, who look at the donor and then take a vote and say, yes, this is a donor that we support. And so the foundation board then approves. That approval is then forwarded on to the college president for her review and approval. And then at that point, it comes to the board of trustees for your final approval on naming that part of the building. So at this point, it is the administrative recommendation that the auditorium in the Welcome Center be named the Carol and Roberta Miller Auditorium. And again, with their generous gift of $2 million, which is, I think by all accounts, the single largest donation made to Ames Community College, which will go in to support our College Promise Endowed Scholarship. So again, tremendously exciting. And so again, recommendation from the administration is do approve. I stand for questions.
All right, any questions of Chuck? All right, seeing none, we have a motion to approve action item 7B, the naming of the Welcome Center Auditorium.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve action item 7B.
Thank you, sir. And do I have a second? Second. And we have a second. Is there and a third and a fourth? Okay. Any discussion? Well, I just think it's awesome. And I think we're sincerely appreciative of donors making this incredible donation in the Welcome Center, which we'll see for decades to come, serve many, many, many students. So wonderful. So with that, we'll ask the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you very, very much.
I do mention that please stay tuned as Kelly and her team work through an appropriate recognition of that donation.
Certainly.
And so that'll be forthcoming as we get to that point. So again, Kelly and her team will keep us well informed of that process for the recognition of the Miller family.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Okay, action item C, naming of the Welcome Center Skybox.
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Bornstein, members of the board, I have another exciting action item for you to consider. Action item 7C. Again, this is along the same lines of the process of naming portions of our buildings on our campuses. And in this instance, it is the naming of the middle skybox in the Welcome Center. And it is the name that would be assigned to this center skybox would be the Ehrlich McDonald Skybox. And so again, the donation, very generous donation of $150,000 that again will go into the College Promise Endowed Scholarship. So again, there's good narrative here that Kelly and her team put together on the donors. And again, the foundation board has approved and supported. The president has signed and now comes to the board for your final approval. Again, the administrative recommendation is do pass. I stand for questions.
Any questions of Chuck? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve action item 7C?
I so move.
Thank you, Mark. And we have a second and a third. Thank you, Ray. Okay, any discussion? Any comments? Hearing none, I'll ask the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion is carried.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, Kelly and her team will keep us posted on recognition of that name.
Okay,
So thank you.
thank you. And you can bring that kind of news to us anytime. All right, next is action item 7D, the new digital marketing certificate. Dr. Rothamer.
Thank you, Chair Oxiger, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein. Action item 7D is the addition of a new certificate, digital marketing. Just a brief summary of the issue. In 2019-20, the advisory committee discussion and input, Ames started offering a new class, digital marketing. With changes in technology and social media platforms added to the business world, there was a need to develop a certificate to support an expanded curriculum around this topic. There is nothing in our current body of certificates to address this skill set and needed to assist students in pursuing this line of marketing or business people who need these skills. And as Dean Sweeter presented to you last month in work session, kind of all the different components of it, and included in your board packet around the data analysis and the feasibility, our administrative recommendation is for you to approve the digital marketing certificate to be added to our learning offerings.
All right, are there any questions of Dr. Rothamer? No questions? Okay. Well, then do I have a motion to approve action item 7D?
I move that we approve 7B.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve action item 7D. Any discussion, any comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, and that motion is carried. Okay, next is 7E, Allison Easley sabbatical request. Dr. Rothamer.
Thank you. And I'm going to share a little bit of a summary for this one that precedes all of the other ones as well, so I'm not too repetitive. So, and I am proud to be here today to represent these faculty and to offer this great opportunity that the college affords our faculty. So Ames has long afforded our qualified, experienced full-time faculty the opportunity to refresh their teaching and learning toolbox via focused professional development during sabbatical leave. The process by which faculty are granted this sabbatical leave is conscientious and thorough, taking into account the value to the college in addition to the benefit to our faculty. A college or a committee of faculty members who have previously enjoyed a sabbatical and also chaired by an academic dean consider the applications submitted by the faculty and who have successfully completed a minimum of 6 academic years. So Arts and Sciences faculty, Allison Easley, has applied to take a sabbatical for the spring 2023 academic semester to research the current needs and best practices for adjunct faculty training, communication, mentorship, and camaraderie within the English department specifically, in order to create resources for department part-time hires and a summary of ongoing recommendations based on the needs and strengths of both adjunct and full-time faculty. So it is our administrative recommendation for approval for Allison Easley to take a sabbatical leave for spring 2023.
Okay, any questions of Dr. Rothmer? None. Do I have a motion to approve action item 7E? For Allison Easley sabbatical request.
Chair Oxiger, I think that Trustee Peterson had a
Did you
question.
have a question?
No, I was gonna move the question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Got ahead of you, Jerry.
All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve action item 7E.
Okay. And we have a second to that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion is carried. And next is item F, Gina Jones sabbatical request.
Thank you. Business and Technology faculty Gina Jones has applied to take a sabbatical for the fall 2022 academic semester to gather information about best practices and current operations by interviewing and shadowing various businesses in Northern Colorado area in order to update accounting department curriculum, in particular in areas of cost and managerial accounting practices, payroll, and sales tax reporting. So our administrative recommendation is for Gina Jones to take sabbatical leave for the fall 2022 semester.
Okay, any questions? We have a motion to approve action item 7F.
Mr. Chairman, I would approve that we approve action item 7F.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next, item 7G, Denise Pearson sabbatical request.
Thank you. So again, from Arts and Sciences, Denise Pearson has applied to take sabbatical for the fall 2022 academic semester to engage in formal graduate coursework and independent study, review relevant research, and perform interviews with experts in order to improve cultural competency, content within our adult learning and teaching course and our advanced academic achievement course, as well as sharing through workshops and presentations to grow appreciation for a multicultural campus. So our administrative recommendation is for Denise Pearson to take sabbatical for fall 2022.
Okay, again, any questions of Russ? Okay, do I have a motion?
I motion that we approve action item 7G.
We have a motion for 7G. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Thank you very much.
2 seconds.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign, and that motion carries. Next is action item 7H, Sarissa Reynolds sabbatical request.
Thank you, Chair Oxiger. Last one, Arts and Sciences faculty Sarissa Reynolds has applied to take sabbatical for the fall 2022 academic semester to build a more equitable and culturally sustaining educational environment for Ames students by participating in self-guided professional development, designing and implementing evidence-based strategies and culturally relevant content in anthropology courses, and sharing those results with fellow Ames faculty. Our administrative recommendation is for you to recommend approval for Sarissa Reynolds to take sabbatical for fall 2022.
Okay, thank you, Russ. Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mark.
Action item, 7H.
7H, that's correct. Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a second here. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve action item 7H. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. That motion is carried. All right.
Thank you for your support.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Rothamer. All right, next on the agenda, item 8. CEO and President's report. And I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Bornstein.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Dr. Rothamer to come back up, get your steps back and forth, to give his monthly report, highlights from the Executive Vice President and Chief Academic Affairs departments, as well as course and lab fee overview and Applied Technology and Trade Center program history and timeline.
Thank you, Dr. Bornstein. Would like to start with, I have 3 things before I get to the 2 items listed on your board agenda, which Dr. Bornstein mentioned. The first one I would like to share is we recognize our institutional research and assessment team earlier in terms of their help with the high school program information that you saw. And just to continue about how good they are, during our lunch break, I got a text from our executive director of IR to answer Trustee Wendell's question that you asked of Chuck and the WUI tuition of what programs students are coming from the Western states. And so in the last 5 years, kind of ranked order, students have come as undeclared. So 25 of those. Liberal arts, 21. Aviation with our air traffic controller was third with 11. Liberal arts with a pre-nursing emphasis. And then finally, emergency medical technician. And there's a long list of other programs that have 1 or 2 individuals that come, but those are the primary programs. Folks are coming from other areas to Northern Colorado for those programs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then another quick note of celebration. I had an opportunity to represent the board and Dr. Bornstein this weekend at Windsor for the Fire Academy and the Police Academy graduations, and it was very well attended. And it was great to have people in that space and to recognize those students. And again, I would like to particularly recognize our faculty and staff. As you've heard throughout the last semester, the amount of work that it takes not only to deliver our programs in a normal world, but during COVID, and the number of, and I kind of joked with a few people, or at least we have that joke around here, is oftentimes you get those late night texts about COVID jail and what that does to the operations when you have students that cannot come to class, and it has to be that hands-on CTE training. So for example, the Police Academy came in on the Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend to make up those hours to prepare for graduation and the post-exam. So a lot of extra work going into supporting our students and their success. So I wanted to thank them and to recognize not only the students, but all those that serve the students. The next item I want to share with you is taking a little bit of a liberty we didn't have it in the information packet beforehand, as it was just announced last week. And if I look in the back of the room and maybe duck down a little bit with our AFA, this is from our Ames Faculty Association, and it was in the Ames Daily earlier this week. And what I'd like to share with you is that the AFA did their Faculty of the Year award recipients. And as Mr. Moody didn't have an opportunity to share them with you, I'd like to highlight this information for you and these faculty members so that we can recognize them. And just a little bit of that background, the Ames Faculty Association recently held annual Faculty of the Year nominations, and faculty members nominated their peers. So this is a peer nomination. And the following faculty members were described to be, and this isn't surprising, professional, dedicated, and student-centered, and by the nominations of their peers. These following names were those faculty that were nominated. And those were Bo Baird, Carol Brown, Michael Dixon, Julie Hopkins, Lee McMains, Donna Norwood, and Karen Scarpella. And we had 2 winners, one full-time and one part-time. The full-time Faculty of the Year was presented to Carol Brown. She is the chair of our Faculty Teaching and Learning Center. And the part-time Faculty of the Year was presented to Karen Scarpella. So if we could please give them a round of applause. All right. You're probably almost getting enough of me, so I'll get to the items actually on the agenda for you today. The one that I wanted to start with is the ATC timeline, and specifically focusing on electrical, plumbing, and HVAC, and then have a little bit of information about welding. So bear with me while I kind of go through the last 5 years in a high-level overview, and certainly we have some of our other experts in terms of from those areas, should we have any questions or need to come back to you with some additional information. So in June 2016, Ames broke down. No, we didn't break down. We broke ground on the Applied Technology and Trade Center, and it included the welding building renovation. The project included classroom and instructional space, as well as 2 new classrooms and locker facilities for the welding program. In 2018, the VPA at the time conducted a trades feasibility study for electrical, plumbing, and HVAC. In the fall of that year, the VPAA presented some of that feasibility study to the board with a proposal to develop certificates in each of those discipline areas and potential examples of those certificates in electrical, plumbing, and HVAC were provided. Upon subsequent further market analysis, a traditional degree or certificate pathway in plumbing was determined to lack feasibility, as the plumbing industry does not require a formal degree or certificate and relies heavily upon apprenticeships. And just some current information. Emily Griffith Technical College and Red Rocks Community College are the only two institutions that we found to offer any type of plumbing program. Emily Griffith Technical College does it through a registered apprenticeship and does not follow a traditional pathway. Red Rocks Community College does have a traditional degree and certificate, but what we were able to identify is that they've only had one completer in the last 5 years. Moving back to the timeline in 2019 and further feasibility analysis, HVAC was found not to be viable due to the close proximity of Thompson School District working with Front Range Community College as they offered programs to high school students. The program has been offered by them for a number of years and would have been in direct competition with Ames, as students in HVAC could attend the Fort Collins Front Range Community College campus. In 2020, based on the input from our electrical program steering committee, the 7 classes that are in your packet, 7 electrical classes that are included in your timeline document, were created and added to the Ames catalog. The courses were originally scheduled to begin this fall of 2021, but were canceled due to our adjunct instructor pulling out at the last minute, and also due to low enrollment. And this is another piece just to kind of share, as we've been talking a lot about this and still kind of reeling from COVID, yet maintaining our current operations. This team has continued their exploration with Plumbing Steering Committee to potentially outline courses for inclusion as electives in the construction management program. And then for fall 2022, so looking forward, and based on, and this is away from those other 3 areas, based on positive enrollment numbers that we've continued to see, as well as industry demand, we're proposing to the college to add 2 additional full-time welding instructors, 1 in Greeley and 1 in Fort Lupton. That'll help us alleviate the wait lists that we have, but in addition, help us maximize our facility usage that we have, these phenomenal facilities to operate 6 out of 7 days a week. So again, that's a very high level overview of what has happened with the ATTC in the last 5+ years. Are there any questions or feedback for us?
Gina.
Okay, I have a question, and it just purely out of interest, not that I'm disagreeing with adding more instructors. What is the waiting list of our welding program? I hear in the community that there's a lot of interest.
You're absolutely right, and I don't have that off the top of my head. And as I look in the back, I know Dean Sweeter brought a packet of information with her. Do you have that?
I do.
Could you join me? Please and thank you.
Thanks for asking the question. So currently on our Fort Lupton campus, we've got about 5 to 6 students on the waiting list still. So hopefully they'll roll into the fall. But here in Greeley, we have about 30 students, which equals 2 terms. And so their next availability for possible entry would be spring of 23. Oh.
Okay, great. Appreciate that information.
Yes, absolutely.
I think mine was just saying that we are trying to create a new electrical certificate. Is that what we're redoing?
Yes, we added the courses as certificates, as electives in our construction management program right now. The advisory committee for that area has said that they want their construction managers to have experience with electrical, with plumbing. So adding the courses as electives allows us to have that feasibility. New program development requires that we have 2 steering team meetings to do the coursework, to look at the certificate, to develop a certificate. And they will meet again in February of 2022. And at that time, determine what courses should make up the certificate offering. And then it'll go through the internal process to get into our catalog.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Real quick, is there, it doesn't seem like mechanical and plumbing have much of a ray of hope on campus here. Am I correct with that?
Do you mean HVAC, not mechanical?
Yeah, HVAC.
Yeah. And so I would say no to HVAC at this particular time. When the administration at the time, after the feasibility study, went back and looked at the Front Range program, we really, as a college, said it's not viable for Ames at this particular time. And plumbing is still in process. Those 2 meetings that I said are required steering team meetings, that's before a formal advisory committee. And I know you've served on the advisory committee, but before that happens, they have to meet, and their second meeting is upcoming. They were waylaid by COVID, and so they've only had one meeting so far, as they've taken care of their own businesses. And so they're having their upcoming meeting. So I'm not sure yet where plumbing will end up. I think for sure we're going to add courses as those electives for construction management, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to develop a full-blown certificate.
Okay, potentially would those be available given the instruction requirement that would be critical for concurrent enrollment programs? Is there chances that those could matriculate down into those?
I think there's a lot of room for exploration there, because the most successful, or let me say it this way, the most success we've had so far in the trades industry is through our carpentry program. And so it has just really taken off in the high schools, and especially at the Roosevelt campus that they're building. It's even going to grow even more. And so I think feeding those courses in once they're established would be a great way to try to grow the enrollment.
There'd be sections, they might not be a full tilt, certificate, but they'd at least be a coursework exposing the students.
Yes, I would say carpentry can definitely add that in.
Okay. So that would be kind of skilled trades. How about finishing trades?
Such as?
Finishing trades, finished carpentry as far as tile setting, finished carpentry, trim carpentry, drywall finish, things like that. Is that all taught in carpentry?
John? Sorry, I'm going to have to call up the expert.
The question is, I understand, so finished trades.
Yeah.
That could very well be incorporated into what we have with carpentry. We have a couple classes that give us a lot of flexibility to address, I wouldn't call them one-offs, I guess, but more individualized kind of things like that, that there may not be a separate class for drywall, for example, but we could set something up. We have the latitude to do that through the carpentry option.
Through the carpentry option is how about tile setting and things like that?
We could do that as well too. One of the issues is always we'll be finding an instructor that we can credential to do them, but that's just on a
based on experience, you could get them qualified. The only reason I'm saying this, these are skills that tile setter makes $4 a square foot. You can lay 100 square feet in a day. So do the math. That's substantial earning potential, and it doesn't take. And an art student could do it if they wanted to graduate from high school and start in that industry. I'm just saying if we can expose the concurrent programs to some of those areas, that it might get them into an apprentice program that we don't offer, we'll never offer, but it'll give them an insight and enlightenment that way. So concurrent probably be a better approach to some of that, at least for now. Maybe I'll let you guys figure that out.
And one of the CAR courses that we have that we offer with our concurrent partners does have that latitude as well. So we could do those things at the high school level if so desired.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, John. The last thing that I have for you, and this you covered a bit with Chuck during the work session when you were talking about fees. So every December we come to you and share with you the changes in fees that are being implemented. So in your packet, you have a list of all of the courses, all of the fees that we had for 2021-22, and then what's being proposed for 2022-23. And what I want to share with you about that process is every year, the faculty with the department chairs and their deans look through all of, kind of the different potential changes in cost and do an analysis of where we are. And as Chuck mentioned during the work session, we don't do that true cost accounting. Like each area doesn't get in kind of what they have. It kind of goes back into the college instead of the different areas. But teams do a very good, thorough job of looking at their different areas to ensure that these additional fees we certainly don't want to be overcharging students, but in some instances, we want to make sure that we cover 100% of the costs. There are a few areas in which we don't request all of the material fees, just we don't want to make some of the programs too cost prohibitive for the students. So what I'd like to do for you is, I know that's pages and pages of information in your packet. I want to give you a high level overview of the different areas. So overall, the cost of lab fees this coming year will increase by $6,115, which is a 5.28% increase. And the majority of that is coming from an increase in aviation fees. And I'm going to go through each of the division areas to kind of highlight their changes. So Arts and Sciences Division, there's no change in their lab fees. Allied Health and Wellness, there's a $361 increase, and that's primarily due to the nursing department and looking at Kaplan testing packages and competency tests and shadow health software for remote learning. And that also includes a $105 increase in the physical education department due to, of all things, golf fees increasing and the instructor needing to go to the course with the students to practice more. For our business and technology division, there's a $915 increase. And again, that's primarily due to practice exams and certification exams like QuickBooks, Excel, and Microsoft Office. There has been a $450 increase in welding fees due to the increase in consumable course materials and supplies. And then in public safety and transportation, and again, this is where the largest increase comes from, which is just under $5,000, and just over $4,000 of that is an increase in aviation due to the increase in operational costs. And as you've kind of talked in the work session, of the fuel maintenance and insurance. But one thing to note, this is the first increase for aviation since acquiring the new fleet of aircraft in 2017. So again, being very resource responsible in terms of looking at what resources and materials and things that we have that we supply to the students and looking at recovering some of those costs. Are there any questions?
Good information.
I don't see any questions.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. And Chuck Jensen, our Vice President for Administrative Services, would like to give us a legislative pre-session report with Tonette Salazar that I believe is joining us via Zoom, as well as a budget update, monthly budget update, and any other Welcome Center naming recognition program updates.
That's correct, Dr. Morenstein. Mr. Chairman, Dr. Morenstein, members of the board, we'll start my section off with zooming in Tonette Salazar. She's our college lobbyist to give us a pre-session overview. The 2022 legislative session begins here in January. So we'll ask Tonette to give us a brief overview of what we can expect in the next session. So Tonette, welcome.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Appreciate the opportunity to spend a couple of minutes updating all of you today. My colleague Dylan Pepper is also on the Zoom as part of the team that works on your behalf to represent you at Ames Community College. I wanted to do just a high-level overview of what we can anticipate coming up for the next legislative session. First and foremost, the dates seem to be the most important part of this. And the legislative session will start on January 12th and is slated to end by May 11th. It is 120 days by the Constitution that the legislature is allowed to spend in session. This will be the first session in 3 years that will run according to schedule without some sort of a stop-start or delay that has happened due to the adjustments needed for the pandemic. Front and center in most legislators' minds is the state budget and the latest revenue forecast. The economic recovery in Colorado has been strong, but it has been slightly uneven in different industries and aspects of the state. We're anticipating that the General Assembly will have approximately 3.3 billion with a B, or 22% more to spend or save in the fiscal year 22-23. This is always positive when the state has additional revenue to spend. On top of that, we are seeing that there is high inflation that is happening, as well as we are hitting the revenue cap under TABOR. And so we're anticipating that there will be refunds back to the voters by approximately $1.2 billion in the next fiscal year. Governor Polis releases his own budget each year on November 1, where he makes recommendations to the legislature on how he feels like budgets should be spent and money should be appropriated. And those are only recommendations, and the Joint Budget Committee, which is a 6-member committee from both the Senate and the House, makes the final determinations when they put a budget together, and then it runs through the regular legislative process. Higher education was disappointed with the dollar amount that the governor recommended for funding of higher education, and the institutions are coming together to advocate for higher funding. The Joint Budget Committee also agrees that what the governor allocated is too low, and was asking the governor a lot of questions about why he didn't fund higher education at a slightly higher level. The other complicating factor that we have in Colorado is the addition of the Federal American Recovery Program Act funds. The state opted to spend a portion of those last year, but hold off on the rest of those funds until this legislative session. They have had working committees related to housing, to behavioral health. They're looking at school finance and a number of other areas. There was a committee established to vet proposals, and they will have a rubric that will be released tomorrow to have different groups submit proposals for that federal funds. The caveat is when we're using federal funds, they are one-time dollars. And so there is a hesitancy to use any type of one-time funding for ongoing funding. So the hope is that those federal funds can be used for startup dollars or one-time expenses. When we're talking about funding for higher education, we want to make sure that we have ongoing revenues to sustain that level of funding moving forward. As I mentioned before with the economic outlook, Colorado has a strong recovery in many of our sectors, but overall the labor market has yet to fully recover to its pre-pandemic levels. Our unemployment rate as a state remains elevated, and the overall number of jobs in the state has not recovered to its pre-pandemic levels yet. Additionally, there are some industries and populations that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, and they are still struggling with the pandemic's impacts. The state's industries with lower and hourly wages lost the most jobs with the onset of the pandemic, and those industries remained furthest from full recovery. When it comes to job losses, those most impacted by the pandemic tend to be households that have children with single parents, individuals who are located in rental housing, and as a share of households by race and ethnicity, at least half of the households in every racial and ethnic cohort are housing cost burdened, suggesting that the COVID recession impacted all race and ethnic cohorts. Of the workers in these households, 2/3 lack a degree and 60% are female. So overall, employers across many industries are struggling with the lack of labor to fill their needed positions. And the pandemic has exacerbated our labor shortages that existed before the pandemic. There's also been an increase in self-employment, a sharp drop in immigration, and difficulties in accessing childcare. that has all contributed to an increased number of individuals unable to return to work. Additionally, a larger than normal number of individuals are currently not working as they search for improved working conditions or higher compensation. There have been several interim committees that have been working this summer. As I mentioned before, we've had task forces on economic recovery, on affordable housing. Housing tends to be the number one issue that is front in mind with legislators as well as voters across the state. Accessibility, affordability, it is a rising concern, and the fact that many workers in the labor industry cannot live where they work is another issue that is coming to top of mind. There was the Legislative Oversight Committee that looked at tax policy, but the bills that are coming out of that committee will not have an impact on any of the financing or the tax revenues that contribute to Ames. We've been working closely with Chuck to monitor all of those. There is a Legislative Finance Interim Committee. While that doesn't directly relate to you, your partnerships with the many school districts that you have is something that is important and essential as you do concurrent and dual enrollment. And so there could be changes coming to how K-12 school districts are funded, particularly around the areas of the definition of an at-risk student. As I mentioned before, there's a behavioral health transformational task force, and this committee is looking at system-wide gaps that we have as it comes to integrated and coordinated care for mental health. There's a lot of resources they're trying to dedicate, but the pipeline and shortage of workers in this arena, as well as facilities and bed spaces, is something the state is going to have to determine how they're going to overcome that. The last thing that I will touch on before I take questions is this year we had congressional and legislative redistricting. This is a process that occurs once every 10 years after the US Census data is released. And this occurs because of a requirement to equalize the population for congressional and state legislative seats. Due to Colorado's large population increase in the state since the last census in 2011, we did gain an extra congressional House seat. In addition, Colorado undertook a new process this time for redistricting due to the passage of 2 constitutional amendments in 2018, Amendments Y and Z. Those 2 amendments created 2 independent redistricting commissions to undertake our redistricting work. Before that, it had been done by legislatively appointed individuals. This inaugural effort provided requirements on public input to both sets of maps and created a hierarchy of priorities that the commission had to consider that is embedded within our state constitution. Those maps have been finalized by the Supreme Court and will be in effect for the 2022 election. So we have 8 congressional districts now. And then we also redid all of the districts for both House and Senate as we were moving through the redistricting process. And so with our growth in population, this process occurred and seats have changed, maps have changed, and competitiveness of districts have been adjusted. If there are questions about anything I've said or any other issues, I'd be happy to take those now if it is appropriate.
Any questions?
Tonette and 360 Strategies has put together a written summary that sent early this morning. So I will forward that to you, and it pretty much covers what Tonette was just covering so that you'll have it in writing.
Questions?
A lot of information for that.
A whole lot of information. We appreciate it very, very much. It's almost too much I'll speak for myself, to absorb. But I don't know how you do it, but we appreciate you bringing it to us.
My pleasure. And as Dr. Bornstein mentioned, this is all in a written document also. So you can read that at your leisure and absorb it a little bit more in real time instead of trying to take it all in 10 minutes.
Any other questions for Tonette? No. Thank you, Tonette.
Happy holidays. Thank you. Same to all of you.
Thank you, Tonette.
Okay, Chuck, I believe you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Bornstein, you have before you the budget report as of October 31st in your packet. And as I scan through the revenues and expenditures, again, Tuition continues to be strong as our enrollments continue to be good. And that again is reflective in the fees also because of increased enrollment. All other revenues are tracking as anticipated. And as I look through the expenditures, we are tracking according to budget. So at this point, I have no items to report to the board of concern. The budget is sound at this point as of October 31st. And so I'll stand for any particular questions.
Any questions?
Looks good, Chuck.
All right, thank you. My last item on my overview is a few brief comments on the naming and recognition project with our Welcome Center and Student Commons. We've since our last report, we've had one new room in recognition, but this is actually in the ATTC building as Kelly and her team are out talking to donors and exploring their interests. Some have interests in some of our other areas of campus. So that's very exciting as those conversations continue. Again, appreciate the board's approval for the naming of the two areas of the Welcome Center. That's very exciting. This past week, of course, or past Friday and Saturday was a big event for the foundation along with the college as far as the Welcome Center opening. Kelly and her team had over 80 donors RSVP for tours. So again, really getting that word out, taking donors on tours of the facilities. And by all accounts, lots of good comments and impressions by people, donors as they toured the building. So thank you to Kelly and her team for all the work in that open house. And again, I think the president has mentioned that over the course of the open house of the Welcome Center, 2,500 or so people toured the Welcome Center. So that gave us a lot of exposure, not only for the college, but also for the foundation in our fundraising efforts for the College Promise Endowed Scholarship. So real quick, funds raised to date, we're topping 2.4 million. And one last final little data, we have sold 119 seat plates. And so in the name a seat in the auditorium, and that'll continue on as we go forward, as we work with our donors and people who tour the facility. So with that, I'll stand for any questions on that part of the report.
Chuck, I have a question. If I know that the 9th and 10th were officially the tours. If people still want tours, can they sign up for them?
Absolutely, yeah. Coordinating through
Okay.
Yeah. Kelly and her team are always available, and they coordinate with Marcom. They coordinate with Mike and his team as far as taking donor tours. So absolutely.
Super.
Chuck, on these large bequests that we're getting, are those usually annual payments that are made up to $2 million? Is that how that rolls usually?
Yes.
So it's not lump sums.
Yeah.
But where are we at for the foundation? It's balanced. We don't get those reports every month, but.
As far as the total asset?
Yeah, total assets. Do you have it up?
I don't have that with me, no.
All right. No, that's good. Thank you.
Other questions on the Welcome Center naming recognition? Not?
So, that's just a question now that Mark has brought it up. If it's an annual contribution, then this total that you just gave us, does that just include the one payment, or is that the total?
That's the commitment. The commitment made. The commitment made.
So we don't have that in hand. That's a promise.
No, that's true. Mm-hmm. No, that's the commitment made over the course of several years. Yeah. Payments over several years.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what actual dollars that amounts to thus far?
That would actually collected?
Yeah. Money in hand.
20%?
I don't, these donations, no, they're all still commitments at this point. And so we're still, as dollars in hand will be coming.
Yeah.
We can get that information and bring that back. We can get it to you and bring it back to the board at the next meeting. And I can see Kelly taking notes. So we'll get that information back.
But a lot of your pledges are 4 to 5 year pledges. Am I correct?
Is that true, Kelly? 3 to 5? 3 to 5.
Okay. Thank you.
Which is very typical in these types of large donations that they're made over a period of time.
Okay.
Questions?
Anything else?
Okay.
That's what I did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Zach McFarland, Executive Director of Marketing Communications, would like to talk to you a little bit about the Welcome Center reservations process and timeline, and also give you the exciting news about how many folks we served over the course of Friday and Saturday at the Welcome Center.
Which, for the record, Chuck ruined. So thank you, Chuck. Spoiler alert. That was my big ticket item. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. B, appreciate the time. Just wanted to give a quick recap of the event that we had this previous weekend on the Welcome Center ribbon cutting. I met with a couple faculty members this morning, both of whom are here, and it reminded me of the good people and the good programs that we have. And in the marketing role, it's really hard to do good marketing if you don't have good people and good programs to market. Similarly, in this realm, right, it would have been really hard to do a good ribbon cutting and opening event if we didn't have this amazing building to showcase, right? And really kudos to the college, architects, builders, F&O, really for creating, conceptualizing, building, and kind of pushing this thing through, right, to get us to this previous weekend where the events team had the opportunity to really showcase that space. A special kudos to Paige Thomas, our director of events, Hannah Price, our assistant director, for putting on an event that I think went relatively smoothly and really showed that building well. To that point, at the event, we had approximately 2,500 people come between Friday and Saturday. So a very large group of people, very consistent. I think I projected to Dr. B 600 to 700. So I think we've also learned the value of my predictions on attendance to ribbon cuttings and open houses. We had 500 people just about at the actual ribbon cutting itself, which if you were there, just kind of looking back at that space and seeing it filled was really spectacular and fun to watch. We had, we talked to the community quite a bit. We had over 30 event requests submitted to the event teams of people looking to fill that space and start booking events, which kind of just takes you back to why it was one of the main reasons it was built in the first place, right, is to have the community involved. And we saw a lot of community interest there. And we're going to go into greater detail about what's next at the February working session, but I just wanted to process real quick through the next steps for the events team in that space. Events, administrative services, facilities, safety and security. We've all kind of gotten together and we've come up with a phased approach for our next couple steps with the Welcome Center. We wanted to do a phased approach so that we were strategic in how we started booking events. So that we could build a strong foundation with personnel, training, things like procedures and policies, and really start to ramp that up over time into something that's successful. What we've come up with is 3 phases. Phase 1 is now, as of last weekend, really, right, through mid-August of 2022. In that phase, we will have student and faculty and staff usage. Obviously, we'll be able to use and book that space. And the events team will also be working with 2 hosted community events a month. Those are ones that they have vetted so that they're going to be able to kind of pick and choose the spaces that are ready and that we want specific events in with specific sizes so that we can be really strategic in which spaces we're using and kind of testing those out. Phase 2 would be mid-August through July 1st of 2023. In that phase, we start looking at external bookings up to 500 for single day usage, up to 2 a month, and then multiple bookings after hours as well. We'll open up to after hours, which is not on phase 1. Sorry, I forgot to say that. And then phase 3 begins July 1 of 2023, and that's when we believe we'll be open for business, ready to rumble and taking events. Really, again, that phased approach allows us to kind of build up to that moment, July 1 of 2023. Those are the phases. That's what we wanted to highlight today. Any questions from me? I would love to answer them.
Mark, I think you have a question.
Well, just how do you set your rates based on local event centers and facilities? Is that something are you trying to be at market value
We'll be giving a lot more detail about that in the February work session, and we'll have the rates as well as the thought process behind it. But the events team is working alongside administrative services and Dr. B to set those. Cool. That'll be good.
I just want to say, I think it's a great idea to have a phased opening. I mean, that makes sense because you get all the problem areas out of the way and then you're ready to roll. So that's great.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important to have a good, strong launch so people want to come back. You know, we don't want those bad Yelp reviews.
No, Mike gave a great presentation at our Legback Committee meeting last Friday, and the space, we really appreciate the diversity that it can be challenged with, and it can do different things for different types of groups, and I think that's going to be an added value throughout the years coming that way as well, and also the energy costs. They're 50 cents on a dollar, I think, if I'm quoting Mike correctly.
So it's phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, very exciting.
Well, I just want to say, I thought it was an absolutely wonderful event. I think the remarks I have heard most from people is, you mean the community can actually use this? So I think when we first talked about this, that was one of the things that we really came back and said, we want to somehow say thank you to the community for what they've done for Ames and how they've supported Ames over the years. And if we can somehow do that, well, I think you've done that in spades. And I think people recognize it and appreciate it. So
yeah, that's what we've heard as well.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Aaron Prestwich will be giving some highlights on student engagement, inclusion, and success. So Aaron is walking up. For those of you who don't know Aaron is our Assistant Vice President in SACE.
Good afternoon. Oh, I didn't realize how short Dr. Rothamer and Chuck and Zach were. So let me get this up a little bit. So, sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Good afternoon, Chair Oxinger and Dr. Bornstein and members of the board. It's good to see everybody. Mark is still laughing about that, so I appreciate that. And Ames colleagues, it's good to see everybody and be here with you all this afternoon. I have a brief board report for the SACE division. Before I share the report, though, I just want to share a quick story. So my 14-year-old son broke his leg over the weekend, and it was definitely a painful experience, but it also was a disappointing experience for him because it means that he's going to miss his club basketball season that is going to start in January. And I sometimes kind of think, he has lots of seasons ahead of him, and he's going to be fine. But kind of sometimes when you're at that age, and it's a big deal, and he was certainly kind of disappointed by that. And when I emailed the club team director to let him know that he wasn't going to be playing and that, they should probably look for a replacement, I'm also kind of a volunteer coach on the team. And so the director said, Aaron, I know Marcus probably isn't going to want to go to the games because he might kind of, be discouraged that he can't play. And so if you want to stay home with him and not have to go to the practices and go to the games, that's just fine. And we'll kind of let you not have to do that. And I said, let me ask Marcus. Let me go talk to him and see what he would like to do. So I went and talked to him. I said, Marcus, what would you like to do? Would you still like to go to the practices and the games and stuff? And he said, even though he couldn't participate, he said, I still really want to go to the games. I want to go to all the practices. I want to be there so that I can cheer on my teammates. And I was so impressed with his response. Because it was a reminder to me of what it really means to be a member of a team. And he's like, I am on this team. I'm a member of this team. Even if I can't participate, I'm still going to go and support my teammates. And we come and give our division updates, and we have so many good things going on at the college, and including some great things that we have going on in SACE. But so much of what we do truly is in partnership with each other and among all the different divisions. So I would be remiss if I didn't kind of acknowledge just a couple departments real quick. We worked so closely with marketing on the move to the Welcome Center. We're going to cohabitate that space with each other, and we're excited to do that. We also work with them closely often on how we recruit new students to Ames. HR has helped us hire and onboard multiple new employees in the past year. Facilities, I could say a whole lot about the facilities. We've talked so much about the construction of the Welcome Center and the renovation of the Student Commons, which we're so excited about and so excited to get into as a division. And facilities has been phenomenal in partnering with us. IT has certainly worked closely with us along with academics in the Workday project. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but we've worked with IT closely. And then speaking of academics, we work with academics on just a whole slew of things. And this little experience, this little story that I had with Marcus was just a good reminder of me. It's like, it's really important that we're part of a team, and we're doing a lot of good things in the division, and we're doing such a lot of good things together as a college and as kind of team members. That I think it's, I just kind of want to kind of acknowledge a few of those things before I started the report. The first update that I wanted to share, if you look at your kind of SACE, kind of one pager, is I will start with the move. So like I said, we're so excited to move into the new building. For those of you who have seen the new building, it is an incredible space. The Student Commons is also an incredible space that are both going to be such a huge advantage to our students. We included on here the departments, the SACE departments that are going to be located in the Welcome Center, and then the SACE departments that are going to be located in the Student Commons. Sometimes that's not always clear to folks, so we wanted to kind of let everybody know kind of who's going to be where. The other thing that I wanted to comment on is the mural. So if you wouldn't mind passing this around, just grab one for everybody. So in the Student Commons, there's this really cool mural that is going up. I'm not sure if it's completed yet, Mike, but I think it's close. Okay, so it's in progress. Mike actually texted me a picture of it actually earlier this week, and it looks really cool. There is a mural that is being done by an Ames resident. Her name is Felicia Bustos. And she was a student of the School of Art and Design at the University of Northern Colorado. Felicia was also a student of Ames. And Felicia has been in some solo art shows, and she's participated in multiple collaborative art galleries kind of across the region. And this is a mock-up of the mural that's going up in the Student Commons as we speak. And so in that kind of that stairway that goes up for the first floor to the second floor, there's going to be this beautiful new mural that's going up there. And it's really a visual representation of how we're really trying to promote and build community and build a sense of belonging with our students. And so that's something that we really wanted to highlight in the Student Commons and kind of show a visual of that. And that'll be certainly on proud display when that building opens. Another update is, again, talking about partnerships, is the Workday, the student Workday implementation. So we have adopted the HR and finance side of Workday, and now we're close to implementing the student side. So we are in the final stages of getting prepared to move to production or to go live with the student side of Workday. And there certainly has been a significant amount of time and energy and work and problem solving and, again, collaboration and partnership that has gone on into that. Really what we're focused on right now is the testing part of that and kind of testing that platform and testing our data. And then we've also done a lot of training with our staff, with our users who are going to be using the Workday platform to serve and to help students. Another portion in here is our financial aid and scholarships. So you can see there's been quite a bit of funding that has been provided to students through not just federal financial aid and Ames scholarship dollars, but also through HERF dollars. So all in total, financial aid has distributed over $10 million to students just in the fall semester. And so that's an amazing thing for our students. There is going to be 2 scholarships in the spring. I just wanted to mention these briefly, and I'm going to read these just so that I could get the details right. There's a new Ames scholarship for students. And this Ames, there's 2 different ones. There's a persisting one and then an Ames Now one. So the Ames Persisting Scholarship is a $500 one-time scholarship award for students who are continuing their education at Ames. Students are not, they do not need to apply to qualify. There are some criteria that they need to meet, but as long as they meet these criteria, then they're auto awarded this $500 scholarship. And there's also another one called the Ames Now Scholarship for new students. This is also a $500 one-time scholarship award for new and transfer students. And so I think these are just 2 exciting scholarships to share, that for continuing and new students, there'll be a $500 scholarship for a lot of our students here at Ames. And then last but not least is our college climate survey update. So we recently received the results of the college campus survey. The college has been working really hard to get feedback from employees, from students, from faculty, staff about action items, how we can work to act on some of the feedback that we got from the campus climate survey. And so on here, you can see some of the timelines of those action items. We've received over 200 action items from faculty, staff, administrators, students. And so we're looking forward to kind of continuing to work on that initiative for the institution. That is my update for the division. And I stand for easy questions. I mean, I stand for any questions that you have for me today.
Any questions?
I will give you the 2 sentences on the enrollment. It's a little bit early for spring enrollment, but as of yesterday, overall, the institution is currently up by 10 students. So our head count is up by 0.31% over last year and 0.87% in FTE over last year. If we're comparing it to 2 years ago, pre-pandemic numbers, we're down it's a little bit small for me to read. Hold on. We're down in about 10.97. So 11% in head count and down 13.5% in FTE. So it's still early. It's still very, very early. And as we've been talking about recovery from pandemic, we may see some roller coaster before we get back to sort of our slow, steady, nice increases that we do.
And I was just going to say, so classes start a week later than they normally do for this spring semester. So that gives us an extra week to help some of those students who are coming last minute to get them enrolled and registered and set up.
Is concurrent still on Wednesday? Or you don't have
I don't have specific details, but concurrent is always on an uptick. So concurrent is continually growing. I don't have specifics. I could look in the enrollment report and actually send you some information, trustee, about how much it's growing specifically. Yeah.
I'm looking because usually I'm not seeing it. Hold on.
Yeah, if you gave me like a few minutes, I could actually show and look it to you. Yeah.
This says, at least from yesterday, concurrent high school student enrollment across all campuses is still low, but has been gradually increasing. So it's early. It's very early.
It'll be up again. Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So, any other questions for Aaron?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, comments from the president. You have my meetings of note from November. There's just a couple that I would like to highlight. The Wells County United Way had its annual Leaders in Giving reception, and trustees O'Hara and Hout were present at that. For those of you who are not aware of the Leaders in Giving reception, it's the time that the United Way, Weld County United Way honors humanitarian recipients. And this year it was Rock and Judy Cron. And I have that program if you're interested in reading a little bit about the contributions that Rock and Judy have given to our community over the course of their lifetimes. And that was a really nice event to honor them. You also, in your packet, will see a photo, and you heard from Jen Seedorf with Trustee Wendell, myself, and Artie, and some other folks at the food bank. So that's the top picture in that report. And then you'll see two others, and I can see Trustee Peterson with very concerned eyes. These two other pictures are when finally this year I was able to have on my calendar an opportunity to help out with final exams for the med prep program at Carrie's Lab. So what you'll see there, the scenario that I participated in was I was a driver in a car crash with a passenger who went through the windshield because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt and she was dead on arrival. My infant baby was in the back. I was texting as I was driving and waving out the window. So you'll see that I have no left hand and a massive contusion on my head. So that's what that picture is. That's not real, even though it looks very real. They did a great job on the moulage. So that's what those pictures are. It was a heck of a lot of fun. Well, serious fun. And the students were outstanding. They did a great job. And quite frankly, they were telling us, well, my passenger was dead, but they were telling me that I really needed to be the part, right? So I tried very vocally to pretend that I had just been in an accident and I don't have a hand. And so I was very vocal. And there were a couple of students who were 16 years old. Yeah, they came in a team of about 3 or 4. And there were a couple of students who were actually 16 years old who, I'll tell you, they handled that situation incredibly. You know, I was just thinking, I went home that night, and so I'm talking to Carrie here. So I went home that night and I was talking with Joe and I said, you know, as a mature adult person, I don't know that I could have walked into that situation and kept my cool, thought through priorities. And that's what we trained them to do. And it was wildly impressive. So that's what those pictures are. So I just don't want you to. And then if there are any questions on other things in there. Yes.
How about our friend Gina?
Yeah, we had a meeting.
With that? Oh, good.
Yeah, we had a meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I had 2 questions.
Sure.
Because I don't know. The Greeley Chamber Board retreat.
Yes.
Where did you guys go? And was there like a theme or?
They retreat annually, and we were actually just down the street on 10th at the, what is that building? Chiropractic.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Over.
Yeah, it's the chiropractic building.
Yeah.
So we were in that building, and it's basically direction for the year, what kind of strategic planning and that kind of thing for the Greeley Chamber Board.
Okay. And the other one was, and I just don't know what it is, the High Plains Chautauqua.
Yeah, well, that was actually what Mark was talking about. So also annually for years, I think we're at 28 or 29 years, the college has supported in one way or another the High Plains Chautauqua program that happens usually at the beginning of August. Do you know which Chautauqua programs are? Okay. So in my words, this is Leah's words, it's actually pretty awesome. They choose a theme every year and they hire actors, but also the historians around that theme. And those actors embody that person. So if they're doing presidents, let's just say, and one person is Abraham Lincoln, they are Abraham Lincoln. They talk about their story. The audience gets to ask questions and interact, and they answer as Abraham Lincoln. What's also pretty wonderful is prior to that, as sort of an opening act, if you will, they have the young Chautauquans that actually it's a competition throughout the school district. And then those young Chautauquans, if they're chosen, get to also play some of those roles. And they're outstanding and, again, wildly impressive. So that's what Mark was talking about with regard to Jane Addams's.
It's usually under a tent. You know, and they'd set up the tent on the main lawn on the west side of campus.
So now, they've been out of schedule for the last couple of years because of COVID. So now they're coming back and they're trying to rebuild their programming. So any other questions about monthly meeting? Nope. Nope. Okay. On to employee report. You have employee report. Are there any supervisors here that want to introduce new employees? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Do you want to stand up where you are? And we'll just go from this, whatever this side of the room is, this side of the room, and we'll go to where Nathan is sitting. So Kelly, please.
I'd like to introduce Tara Brote-Marshall. She's a long-term Greeleyite Evans girl. Many of you may know her from when she was younger. She is our new staff executive, which will allow me to get out and do more of that amazing fundraising.
All right.
Welcome, Sarah.
I'll introduce myself first because this is one of the first times I've been at the board meeting. My name is Lindsay Oster. I'm the staff executive for the Arts and Sciences Division, working for Recycle. And I would like to introduce you to Isabel Gold. She is our new staff executive or staff associate, in the office, supporting some of the arts and sciences programs. Isabel is Ames alumni, and she graduated last December from University of Northern Colorado with a bachelor's in business admin. And we are thrilled to have Isabel. She started about a month ago.
All right.
Hey everybody, I'm David Martin, Assistant Director of Facilities. We have with us, we're pleased to announce and welcome Jason Johnson to the Facilities and Operations Department. Jason comes from the industry, oil and gas, I believe, 25 years he worked in oil and gas. And after all those years of high stress and long hours, he wanted to change gears a little bit. So he comes to Ames in the midst of our biggest construction project. He can help us move, right, all of it. But he's very grateful for the 2 weeks of holiday. So welcome Jason Johnson to Facilities Maintenance.
Anyone else? Anyone we missed? No. Well, Chair Oxford, that concludes the President's report for December of 2021.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bornstein. Dr. Peterson, would you join me at the microphone, please? Well, this is indeed a kind of a bittersweet moment. I remember when I was younger, and I used to read your name on these boards and down at the legislature and everything else, and you were from Nunn, Colorado, and I couldn't figure out why I didn't know you. I thought I knew everybody from Nunn, and as I moved up and I got into various activities and everything else, I really hope that one day I would get to meet you. And then I came out to Ames and thought about running for the board, and I saw you were here, and I finally got to meet you. So it was indeed an honor. And the last 8 years working with you has just been absolutely incredible. You've been a mentor. You've been a good friend. I've received lots of sage advice from you, and Ames has benefited greatly from you serving as a trustee here at Ames for the past 8 years. So on behalf of Ames, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, as you ride off into the sunset, but I heard you might come back and say hello once in a while or something like that. So, but until that time, we wish you well and sincerely thank you for all that you have been for Ames Community College. And with that, I would like to present you with this plaque of recognition. And I'll read it. Ames Community College recognizes Dr. Ray Peterson in grateful appreciation of your 8 years of dedicated service and selfless contribution to the college. Serving on the Board of Trustees 2013 to 2021, as board chair from 2017 to 2019, and board treasurer from 2015 to 2017. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Listen, thank you, Lyle. I do appreciate those great comments. I know that you're so glad to get rid of me that you can hardly stand it, but that's okay. I'll take the good words. And sincerely, seriously, let me say thank you to everybody. My fellow board members, Dr. B, all of you folks out there who make Ames Community College such a great, great institution. I have enjoyed the 8 years. It's been a real pleasure. And most of all, it's been an honor. Believe me, a great honor to serve on this board. So thank you very much for all you do for the community, for the students, everyone involved. And Marilyn, good luck.
Swearing in of newly elected board members.
And for that, I'll ask Megan Self, Executive Assistant to the President. Come forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn, if you'd like to make your way up. I'll swear you guys in one at a time.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'll do Marilyn first and then, okay, Marilyn, if you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Marilyn Schock, do solemnly swear.
I, Marilyn Schock, do solemnly swear.
To faithfully perform the duties.
To faithfully perform the duties.
Of the office of District C.
Of the office of District C.
Board of Trustee member.
Board of Trustee member.
Of the Ames College District.
Of the Ames College District.
As required by law.
As required by law.
And to support the Constitution of the United States.
And to support the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of Colorado.
The Constitution of the State of Colorado.
And the laws made pursuant thereto.
And the laws made pursuant thereto.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to follow along? All right, sir, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jean O'Hara, do solemnly swear.
I, Gene O'Hara, do solemnly swear.
To faithfully perform the duties.
To faithfully perform the duties.
Of the office of District D.
Of the office of District D, Board of Trustees.
Board of Trustee members. Of the Ames College District as required by law.
Of the Ames College District as required by law.
And to support the Constitution of the United States.
And to support the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the State of Colorado.
The Constitution of the State of Colorado.
And the laws made pursuant thereto.
and the laws made pursuant thereto.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Y'all signed in, Marilyn? Okay, well, congratulations to trustees O'Hara. And, oh my gosh, shock. I'm sorry. This is an awesome moment, and we look forward to working with you both in the future. And look forward to great things to come. So with that, the next action item is election of officers. And the first is the election of the chair. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Jerry Harvey for the election of the chair.
Thank you, Chair Oxiger. Yes, Trustee O'Hara.
I would make a motion that we move into executive session for the board only to discuss some issues related to board operations and leadership prior to going forward with the rest of the election to the rest of the positions.
Yeah.
So I need to step back in as chair on that, I think. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? I'll second, of course. We have a motion and a second to move into executive session as provided by Colorado Revised Statute. Do we have discussion?
Are we going to go into a separate room or?
Yeah, there would need to be.
Well, if there's no discussion, we need to vote. Okay. So with that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Aye. Okay, we will move into executive session. Where would we do this?
Yes, the boardroom, the conference room.
Okay. So we will not make any decisions in executive session. After the executive session, we will come back out of executive session, back into here and continue the meeting. Well, hi, everybody. We're back.
You're back.
Well, for matter, this is a public meeting, so for matter of full disclosure, it was pointed out that the reasons for going into our executive session were not supported by state statute. So we're coming back in and we'll have any discussion here. So again, I guess I'll turn it over to you, Jerry, and you spoke to us in there, so I think you know what's going on.
All right, so this item of the agenda would be for election of officers, and I believe that Trustee O'Hara has something he would like to discuss or has a question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let me open by saying I'm very honored to be on this board. I enjoy my involvement here. And I feel that we've got a lot of expertise and experience among the board members that is not well utilized. And it relates to a management style more, and where we quite often don't get full information or timely information, and we get pushed into decisions too quickly. And I'm not specifically aiming at any of the decisions that have been made. I'm just talking about a philosophy where if we have input, we provide it to the chair, and if it goes forward, it does. Quite often I've felt uncomfortable that I haven't had time to review the information. I think leadership style, and it doesn't have to be changed, I would suggest modified to include the expertise and input of all of us so that we can properly respond to comments that we get from our constituents. And I feel like our taxpayers expect and deserve that they can come to their representative and raise some issues. And yes, I received letters from faculty, staff, community members. I forwarded one recently to Lyle, but I don't get anything back so that I can get back to the person that raises the issue to me. So my point is I would like to see a leadership style of the new chair and whomever that chair is. That would be more inclusive of us, and that I almost feel like I'm being managed, whether it's by the chair or the CEO. And I guess I've been on quite a few boards in my career. I've never really felt like this. I don't think it's intentional. Maybe it's a long-standing style of board chair leadership. And, I'm not criticizing that. I'm just saying that I'm not comfortable with that style of leadership. I would like it to be, the chair to be more transparent, give us more time for discussion. And I'm just hoping whoever ends up being chair, just understands at this point, before we elect a new leader, that I'm hopeful we can modify our approach some.
Thank you, Trustee O'Hara. And I will, I guess, caution as well that while these sorts of discussions aren't appropriate for executive session, as we discussed, we do want to make sure that the discussion that we have is germane to the actual topic at hand. And in this case, I think that it is tangentially. So we just want to make sure that we keep that reined in a little bit as well. But thank you, Trustee O'Hara. All right, moving forward, again, the item before us is election.
Is there more discussion?
I think as long as it's pertinent to Trustee O'Hara's discussion and is honed in on what we're actually discussing here on this item.
I understand that statement. I think we're talking about the chair position. Am I correct? The biggest concern that I have, and most of the comments that Trustee O'Hara's commented on and are reasonable and concerning. I feel the management style is acted often without necessarily our consent. And that worries me because we have a contract with this president, and I'm all in on it. It's a done deal.
I'm sorry to interject. I'm sorry to interject, Trustee, but we can't.
Okay,
it has to be specific to the chair of the board.
Okay, my statement is that there's been situations where typically board approval is required for an action to occur or negotiation to occur. We don't really have any process that allows for that within our group to be beneficial to all concerned and to be understood by all concerned. I think the actual urgency with some of our decisions that were made is bothersome to a board member. I think it's subjugative. And this has been the chair's responsibility to have that cohesion, to have the connectivity.
So I'm just saying. I have to interject again. We should be specific to the item at hand, which is about the chair, but it's about the election of the chair. So if we could.
Well, I just want to make sure that we make that we understand we have to work on this decision and make it a leadership role. And the transparency is an issue. Board relationships is an issue. Reasonable questions.
I'd like to interject something here. I think we need to talk about the election of the chair. And I think if a chair is nominated and wants to make a statement that is pertinent to his or her election, I think that would be appropriate. But to go back and review how you feel things have occurred, I think is inappropriate. We could sit here all day long and talk about how each of us feels about how things should occur. But I think if you're nominated, I think you talk about why you should be the chair. And if you want to include those things about how you would do things differently or how you would like to see it, then that certainly would be your prerogative. And if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And I think that would probably be the most appropriate way to move forward. Just that way we make sure that we don't leave the bounds of where we should be discussing. And you'd still be able to express those feelings at that time if you were to be nominated. So as we move forward, I'll just go ahead and outline the process that we'll be using for nominations and election of the different positions. And then we'll begin that process. I just want to make sure everybody's clear on how we're moving forward. So we'll start by taking nominations, and then we will allow each candidate to briefly make a statement. And then we will have you write down on the slips of paper I provided you before the meeting began the name of the individual whom you are voting for. I will then tally those votes and then announce the winner if that person receives a majority of the votes. So nominations are now open for president or chair of the Board of Trustees.
Are we taking nominations now?
Yes, the nominations are now open. Trustee Hout.
I would nominate Gina O'Hara.
Trustee O'Hara, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
And are there any other nominations?
Yes, I would nominate myself, Lionel Oxer.
All right, thank you. Trustee Oxiger, are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we will begin with statements from each candidate, and we will begin with Trustee O'Hara.
Well, as I said in my previous comments, my goal wasn't necessarily, okay, I want to be chair, which I'm very willing to be chair. And in particular, because I would like to see a more inclusive, transparent process. I've been chair of many boards over my career, and I'm honored and enthusiastic about where this institution is going. I think we've got a strong administrative team, but I think we can build better relationships between board members. I think we can build, as a board, better relationships with our cabinet members, with the faculty, and make them feel like they're heard. But also, I think we need to assure that our relationships are strong with taxpayers and that we all represent. And that means being more transparent. And I'm an inclusive leader. I don't see myself, if I'm chair, as, okay, I get to make the decisions. You give me your input, I'll make the decision. That's not the way I operate. And I think that would make us a more effective board.
Thank you, Trustee O'Hara. Trustee Oxiger.
Certainly, and thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. Well, I spent the past 15 years in public service, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, even though there have been some bumps along the way. It's certainly my desire to continue my public service as chairman of the board of Ames Community College. Serving the last 2 years during the pandemic wasn't what I would ever have expected it to be like. There were a lot of limitations in what we couldn't do. We did a lot of it by Zoom. Communications weren't very good. But it's certainly my hope that those activities, those communications and interaction would return to normal. I've learned a lot over the past 2 years how a board of higher education functions very differently than a board of than a corporate board or a board in the private sector. I've learned that this college moves at an extremely fast pace. Things don't just, they can't just go on and on and on. I have learned that we get an exorbitant amount of information in our packets. Our packets are sometimes 150, 200 pages long. It's our responsibility to read those packets and get that information and come to a meeting prepared to make decisions. I hear a lot about serving my constituents. And those constituents aren't the people we go to coffee with. They're not the people we go to the country club with. They're not the people that we've sat and shared family stories with all our lives. They're those 20, 30,000 people out there that voted for us. And there's no way we can go out and talk to all of those people about any of these issues and get equal feedback from everybody, and they all deserve to be treated equally. So we're elected to be trustees because of what we believe in and because of our decisions to act and make decisions. So it's not our role to go out and take an item and go out and meet with our constituents and discuss it and then bring a decision back. It's our goal to, again, read our packets, come into a meeting prepared to make a decision. Certainly have discussion amongst us at the meeting. But those 200-300 page packets that we read are going to be followed in 3 short weeks by another 200 or 300 page packet that we're going to have to read and absorb and make decisions on. That's the way it has to work. I've learned that's the only way it can work. We speak with one voice. We don't get to speak unilaterally. We don't get to make a decision and then go out and tell our constituents what that decision is. We make a decision and we make that decision and we go out as a board and speak whatever that board's decision is. That's what we tell them, whether we agree with it or not. The board votes, that's the decision, and that's what we support, and that's what we take out there to whomever we talk to. I've learned that. I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about others. I've got some very different views of things than I did just 2 short years ago. I've got a very good working relationship with our president and CEO. And I'm very pleased that she's going to continue and that the college is going to continue under her leadership. It's extremely important to the function of this board and the college that the board chair works well with the president and the CEO. There must be a mutual trusting and respectful relationship between the president and the chair. It's essential. I understand the role of the chair as representing the board as one voice, as I said earlier, and that must happen. I've done my very best to follow process as guided by policies and procedures. And that's important. We have policies and procedures. We can't make decisions to do whatever we think is right at the time to go out and talk to people or to do things. We have to follow policy and we have to follow procedure. Now, if we don't like those policies and procedures, then by all means, let's change them. We can do that, but we got to do that first. When we have meetings, we have to know what the policies and procedures are. We have to be familiar with them. And if we're not familiar with them, we need to get familiar with them. I've done my very best to follow, I already said that, I'm sorry. The success of the college is much more important to me than the success or the agenda of any single trustee. I'm always open to new ideas and suggestions. But we have to discuss them as a board. They have to come to the chair or to the president and then presented to the board to decide on. I can't get a suggestion and then answer. I can't get a letter and then answer because I can't speak to that. I can't return a reply to a letter that I get because the board hasn't seen it. So I can't unilaterally make a decision on the content of that letter, on what it says. I can't respond to it to anybody. It has to come to the board first. And then if we, as a board, decide to do something about that, then the chair can certainly represent the board and go out and speak to it or delegate that. But that's the only way it can go back out. Can't be my interpretation. Can't be the chair's interpretation. My ultimate goal in serving is the success of the college and our students. So I'm telling you, that's a whole lot different management style than I've ever done in my life, than I ever did as a mayor or anything else that I served as. But I follow policy and procedure. And if I'm questioning that, it comes to the board or I get legal advice, which I've done on a couple of occasions. So with that, I'd ask for your support as chair for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Oxiger.
Yes.
There's all of the nominees have spoken. And so at this point, we will move to a vote. As a reminder of the candidates, Trustee O'Hara and Trustee Oxiger are the two candidates for chair. You'll find before you slips of paper. Trustee Schock, I believe they're back behind your tablet there, sorry. If you will write the name of the individual who you're voting for president, please write it on there and fold your piece of paper. This is a private ballot, and then I will come and collect those and tally them, and I will announce the winner of the vote. The votes have been tallied, and congratulations to Chair Lyle Oxiger. I'll now hand the meeting back off to Chair Oxiger, and we'll follow the same process for the next two seats. If there's only one candidate, we won't need to do a written ballot, but if there are multiple candidates, we'll continue to do private ballots. Chair Oxiger.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I really am very passionate about that, and I appreciate your support. So the next is the election for secretary. So now nominations are open for secretary.
Go ahead. I'm going to nominate Trustee O'Hara.
Okay, we have a nomination for Trustee O'Hara. Are there any other nominations? I would nominate Trustee Wendell. Are there any other nominations? Do you accept the nomination? First of all, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Yes. Does Trustee O'Hara accept the nomination?
Yes.
And Trustee.
Sorry about that.
And Trustee Wendell.
Twist my arm.
Yeah, I'm twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah. With enthusiasm.
More stuff.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Okay, well, then, if there are no other nominations, we will move to a vote.
Chair Oxiger.
Do you guys want to comment? You want to comment, Gene? You want to comment, Heidi?
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
As I said, I enjoy being on this board. I think I enjoy being involved with Ames Community College and at all levels, both as a community resident, taxpayer, and board member, and anything I can do that will improve our programs, student experiences, and the satisfaction of our community as it relates to workforce development. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you, Gene.
And I would say it's very nice of you to elect or nominate me. I appreciate that. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be on this board, no matter what position I'm in. I'm just excited to see what the students receive here. And I think we're constantly improving it. And like I said, I'm just happy to be here and happy to help this amazing community college. And that's all I'm saying.
All right, well, thank you very much. Well, I think the procedure would be the same. So write your preference down on a piece of paper, and I think Jerry will collect them and announce our new secretary. So as you know, we don't have a vice chair, so I believe the secretary serves as secretary and treasurer. Not anymore?
We have a secretary. The secretary serves as the vice chair.
Secretary serves as the vice chair, my error. So we need to elect a treasurer
It's on here.
to keep all of our money, all the board's money. Okay, so let's proceed with nominations for treasurer.
Sorry, Chair Oxiger, I have the tally of the votes, and I would like to congratulate Secretary O'Hara.
O'Hara, good job, Trustee.
Thank you.
O'Hara. Okay, now let's get on with the election for treasurer. Nominations are open for treasurer.
I nominate Ms. Trustee Hout.
Okay, Trustee Howe, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. Are there
I
any
second.
are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. I guess we can just proceed to congratulate Trustee Howe.
Yes, yeah, it can be by unanimous consent, so.
Okay. So let the record show that Trustee Howe was elected by unanimous consent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we need to select a foundation board liaison. Is there anyone, are there any nominations, or is there anyone that wants to volunteer for board liaison to the foundation? Trustee Howe?
I volunteer.
No volunteer? Anybody have any objection to that?
No, I was going to nominate.
You were going to
Mr.
say,
Howe.
Mark, you're it.
Is it?
Third caller.
Let it, the record show the board's choice for foundation board liaison is Trustee Howe. Thank you very much. Okay, next is Board of Trustee meeting retreat dates for 2022. Jerry, I'll have you address that if you please.
Yes, thank you, Chair Oxiger. In your packets, you'll see the proposed dates. They were discussed at the November board meeting. So I'll go back through them and you can reference them there in your packets as well. The recommendation and proposed dates are the second Wednesday of each month, beginning at 1:30, with the exception of February 2nd, March 2nd, and April 6th. So those will be on the first Wednesdays due to scheduling conflicts in each of those months. And with that, I'll hand it back to Chair Oxiger for action on those proposed dates and times.
Okay, this is an action item, so we need to have a motion. Certainly open for discussion, but we need to have a motion as to those dates. Is there anybody that has any conflicts with any of those dates? Take time if you need to check your calendars. We don't want to have to change these once they're set. Can I have someone coming in? I'm sorry, Mark, I can't hear you.
February 2nd, did you say?
The whole entire calendar is on page 106 of your diligent book, so it's for the whole year.
Thank you. Let me just get there.
I'm trying to get to it.
Just type in 106, there you go. Okay.
Okay, there we are. So you had it.
We're doing the first Wednesday now?
No, Trustee, the proposal is the second Wednesday of each month. There were scheduling conflicts for the first 3 months of the year. So February, March, and April will be the first.
I'm out of town on the third Wednesday.
So those change.
That works for me.
The rest of them are like they are. And Dr. Peterson, I think, left, so he's not here to keep us on track. But are we good for December for setting the mill levy?
Yes. Yes, Chuck's
Okay.
giving me the thumbs up.
All right. So he'll be happy to hear that. Okay, so I need a motion to accept the calendar, the proposed dates.
I motion to accept the calendar as is.
I'm good. We have a motion and a second to approve the meeting and retreat dates for 2022. Going once, twice, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that motion is carried. Information items, the calendar. Anybody have any questions on the calendar? We're closed winter break, December 20th to the 30th through the 31st. The college is closed. The 24th is Ames Day. That should be awesome. The 25th of January is, of course, our retreat. The 2nd of February is our Board of Trustees meeting. That will be on the Greeley campus. Ames Night Out at the Colorado Eagles at the Budweiser Events Center. It's a great night if you can make it. If there's however many tickets are available, that's a lot of fun, and it's dedicated to Ames. So they spread the word. They talk about Ames all night long, and Ames is up on the billboards, and we get to choose somebody to go out and throw out the puck for the start of the game, and it's just a great time. So if you can be there, Heidi.
What's Ames Day?
What's what?
Ames Day.
Ames night?
Ames Day. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Ames Day is the day that we celebrate annually when the college was established. So a few years back when we celebrated 50, we started actually annually celebrating Ames Day. We try to make it as close to the actual day as possible, but sometimes it's on a weekend, so we make it either the Monday or the Friday. But that's what Ames Day is. So it's the day we celebrate Ames establishment.
Yeah, it's a great time. Okay. And then February 18th is Conversation Day at the new Welcome Center. Awesome. So that's the calendar. Trustee O'Hare, could you enlighten us on the Foundation Board Liaison update?
Yes, be happy to. And you met our newest Foundation Board member, Sarah Daly, today. The Foundation Board is made up of 5 members, and just you probably know most of them, but to remind you again that Diane Holmberg is the president, and I think Diane's here today. Ted Johnson, vice president. Carol Hoagland, treasurer. Bev Peratino is a board member, along then with Sarah to round out the 5 board members. And the liaison from this board is a non-voting member, or a non-voting attendee at that board meeting. It's kind of exciting to move on to a report on general giving to the foundation. General giving has risen 1,800% from last year. And this is not including the Welcome Center naming gifts that we heard about earlier today. So in that same line, the foundation participated in the Colorado Gives Day and received $1,250 for this year. You met the new staff member. We finally have a full staff for our foundation, staff of 4. And again, a reminder, Kelly Jackson serves as the executive director and major gift officer. Kelly Zielman serves, their formal title is Alumni and Corporate Engagement, which is alumni outreach. Andrea Martinez, the database manager, and all donor details are in that database. Tara Markle, staff executive, supporting the daily administrative functions of the foundation. So we have a good staff there doing good things, and board members that are very, very active and involved. That concludes my report.
That's great. I know, my gosh, they've got to be excited to have all the activities around the new Welcome Center and all the naming activities and everything else that's going on. And this great foundation team is putting together. It's just absolutely awesome. So, yeah, I'm sure they're excited. So, next is the January 25th board retreat update. Jerry, you want to talk to us?
Yes, thank you, Chair Oxiger. Just a brief update on our upcoming retreat. Again, just a reminder, January 25th will be our retreat. We're still working on finalizing with the facilitator the full agenda, and so we'll be reaching back to you as we get those updates so that you're prepared for that retreat. Currently, we have reserved a space at the DoubleTree downtown like we were earlier this fall, but we're working on getting a wonderful space in the new Welcome Center. So that is our goal, that we'll be meeting in the Welcome Center in the VIP conference room that we all saw on our tour. As we work through that and confirm that again, we'll update you, but we're looking forward to being able to meet in the new Welcome Center in a new space.
All right. Okay. Okay, that's great news. Okay. Comments from board members. Who wants to start it off, Mark?
I said I was the third caller. No, I want to thank this board and the college for giving me the opportunity to be on this board, to be around this community. I'm very fortunate. I'm learning every day. I'm not a perfect specimen for sure. I do try and I fail sometimes, but I'm very proud of everyone back here. Very proud. And this board too. We're in this together. We're all in. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Marilyn, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. It's always an interesting adventure when you jump into a new board and particularly an elected position as we move forward. But thank you everybody for the warm welcome. It has been great getting to meet all of our faculty and staff and really moving forward and getting to know the board. I look forward to additional great things. I think Ames is an amazing place, and that's why I was interested in the first place. And during the open house this past weekend, I was humbled just by walking through and being a part. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we're very happy to have you on board. Trustee O'Hara.
I think it was a good meeting, good discussion. And I'm pleased to be reelected to the board to be able to continue to be involved. So I'm looking forward to the coming months and meetings.
Okay, thank you, sir. Trustee Wendell.
This board is truly amazing, and the college itself, and I can't remember the gentleman with the basketball. I remember his son. Aaron, yes. What you said really resonated with me, and it also included some discussions we had while we ate today. And I think, we're here for the students, and the diversity, the equity, the inclusion of everyone is so important. And where we've been over the last 2.5, and I'm going to say 2.5, 3 years, it's been a hard road for, I think, everyone. And I will say politically, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, mixed in with the COVID and how everyone's emotions have been up and down. And I think this college seems to have been steady at the helm the entire time. I think the development of the Welcome Center and the Student Commons, as other people have said in the community, that it's been there when everything was unknown, it was still rising up. And the fact that your son wanted to be included in the team no matter what, I think is exactly what this college is. Everyone is a really good team player. I think everyone pulls their weight. Everyone tries to improve. And once again, I'm happy to continue to serve on the board. We have a great year ahead. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Wendell. I too, I'm very pleased, very honored to serve on this board. I think you've seen today, we're very passionate about being on this board, and we're very passionate about doing things right. And we will do things right. I think it's been demonstrated all the time. It's always demonstrated by the success that Ames continues to enjoy in the community, in the state of Colorado, and even nationally. The recognition we get and the example we set for other colleges, and the number of students that we get from out of district that come into Ames for the specific courses that we have that are certainly offered other places, but they choose to come to Ames to get their education, as was pointed out when Trustee Wendell asked the question about the WUI. It was pointed out how many students actually come here just because of that. So I'm very honored to be the chair again. Certainly open to ideas and suggestions. Please send them. And with that, I think we'll move on to the board assessment rather. And Marilyn, for your information, we do this. We've come up with all these things. They're at the bottom of your agenda. And they're actually here on a little card here behind our names. I think
I got it all wet for you.
Yeah. So have you been educated on it yet? We generally kind of lump it into one. It's a lot to go through individually, each item and stuff, but we try to watch as we go through the meetings and think about things that we might want to say, things that we might want to point out. So with that, does anybody want to comment on any of those?
I would like to say the spiral bound concurrent enrollment high school profile is just amazing. The amount of information they put together, consolidated into the one page at the beginning. I think we had a lot of good information, and if we didn't get our information, we tend to get it later. So great job.
Super. Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. Anybody else?
Make a motion for adjournment.
I would ask that you retract that.
Okay.
I think that we should let Marilyn make her first motion, if you don't mind. Would you like to make your first motion as a member of the board?
Certainly, activity. I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.